Good morning and welcome to the VSA Morning Miner. I'm joined by Paul Rankin today. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. And not raining yet, but they're still expecting it in the forecast, looks like.
Good. Well, I hope you are good and not just all right. You changed what you're going to say halfway through.
How about both?
Good. Right. Some interesting news from Tectonic. Looks like management are very excited, but they can't quite say everything they want to just yet.
Yes, that's right. They finished this current round of drilling on their Specimen Hill copper gold project in Queensland, and they're pretty excited about what they've seen when they put this first hole into what they call the Southern Copper anomaly. And they hit apparently two intercepts greater than 20 meters that have visible copper mineralization in them. Depths of 110 and 171 meters, respectively, on those intervals. Have to wait and see exactly what kind of true grades we have when they get the chemical assays back. But that they were very encouraged by that hole put in, but also by a hole that they put down underneath the surface or the shallow workings of the Goldsmiths Reef, also on the same property. And they hit gold-bearing sulfides in that hole drilling as well, and so they're awaiting those results too. But they were sufficiently encouraged in the Goldsmiths occurrence that they want to get a rig right back out there as of next week in order to put a deeper hole down first thing underneath that just to see what they might have. So just keeping fingers crossed here, and a short wait now for the shareholders now just to see what how good they might have found it, but quite encouraging indeed.
Yeah, and I think, those intercepts are the most substantial thicknesses that we've seen so far reported, and they're consistent with what management had guided to as to where they were targeting mineralization and of the sort of scale that they were looking at as part of trying to find this deeper porphyry core. But yeah, as you say, it's all about waiting for the assays until we really know just how significant this is, but consistent with everything they're looking for so far. So yeah, fingers crossed. Right, let's move on. Ferroalloy Resources interim results. Slight drop in production, but a strong improvement in earnings. Any thoughts there, Paul?
Well, yes, I think you're the covering analyst on ferroalloys too for VSA, so interested to hear what more you can say about it. But I guess one of my questions as an analyst would be, they had talked about some of the impacts on the interim period for COVID, but there's also some hints in here too that they're having some logistical issues now, just like the UK and so many other places around the world are too, as far as movement of materials and supplies. And I guess that's one of the things I would be asking on the analyst call that they next one that they have. How about you?
So they had flagged that there were some logistical issues earlier in the year. So I think in terms of the production numbers, they're pretty much in line with what we were expecting. So not too far off there. Obviously, the significant improvement that we want to come through on the back of the investment by Vision Blue Resources will take some time, and that only happened in March. So this is still really a period of sort of the old cash constrained performance, and so the impact of that isn't yet coming through. But vanadium prices increased, so that was sufficient to offset the pullback in production, which, as you say, was caused by logistics issues. They simply weren't able to get the secondary material that they process site. Although it does say in the notes that that has been resolved, and by the end of the period they had more than enough stockpile for the current period, so they should be ramping up towards the 80 tons a month capacity that they'd indicated. They've now got to, I think, at the full year results, and they've also supported that with a lot of additional byproducts. So you've now got molybdic oxide, which has been, and now they can produce ferromolybdenum from the same product, and also nickel concentrates. So that should support revenues as well in the second half. But you know, it's all now about the main project because of Vision Blue Resources investment. And their focus really is on the main project, and that expanded feasibility study due next year, and the drilling for that, the infill drilling, commences in November.
And we have a grid power connection coming up soon, don't we?
Yes, yeah, the long-awaited grid power connection. It looks like everything has been installed, but they're still waiting for one last meter to be added. That has been a bone of contention for some months, getting this power connection sorted, but it is expected to cut power costs by half once it's up and running, and that will really change the existing operation, and it'll mean that the grid connection is there for the main operation when that does get built.
Yes. Okay.
Anything else out there, Paul?
Yeah, there was several bits of interesting news out in the lithium space with various companies, primarily ASX listed ones. We had interim results come out from Lepidico, for instance. Also had an announcement out from Lake Resources that the Canadian Export Credit Agency is looking to work alongside the UK Export Finance for their funding for their Kachi project. We also had an announcement over the weekend that shows AVZ, which is the AVZ Minerals, which is the Australian developer of the Monono pegmatite in the DRC, has signed a JV with a private joint venture backed by Contemporary Amperex, the Chinese firm, for a 24% equity share toward development. And the cash component of that right away is $240 million. So it looks like that big pegmatite there in the DRC will be proceeding to production. And they're also talking about upstream or downstream plant activity too, because of the size of this deposit. So that also very constructive for the DRC for value add capabilities there. In AVZ, in the Monono case, I think one of the big questions is what the power cost will be. And I know DRC has a great big hydroelectric power dam build deal that's awaiting global finance of the several billions of dollars on the Congo River. So that this kind of ties into that particular story too.
Yeah, well, the lithium market's pretty hot at the moment. I would think it would go higher in this cycle than the last one, just because there's that much more momentum behind the demand side of the story, and so much impetus to transition to EVs, that I think this up cycle will last longer than it did in 2017-18. But until the market gets to that sort of million-ton range, it's going to be volatile. So the cycles will be big swings until then.
Mm-hmm.
Great, Paul. Thanks for your insights. We'll speak to you tomorrow.
Very good. See you then.
Speak to you then. Cheers.